Ladies and gentlemen, get the book Dr. Joshua Bowen wrote, The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. It is extremely full of knowledge and information for anyone, as well as join the Patreon. There's hundreds of videos that have been not released to the internet. You can ask questions and I will record them with these scholars in high definition. I do that all the time. You can also personal message me and you help the community grow. Thanks a lot. Dr. Joshua Bowen, thank you so much for letting me do this, man, and come up here and
of course, thank
harass you. You know,
enjoying it.
I get to actually harass you, man, and have fun and ask questions. But seriously, you just wrote that book. If you don't mind showing everybody the book real quick. Yeah, you got to glare tilted there you go. The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. When you first dropped this, I thought to myself, hold on. Someone's going to take this wrong, right? They're going to go, look at the title. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. The Atheist Handbook, like this isn't meant for anyone but a non-believer, someone who doesn't believe a God exists. So they're thinking this is only for them. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, you've sort of answered it, I think, in the way you framed the question. And no, I mean, I think we all have to be, I think it's good to be candid about the overall goal when we write something and when we make a video. And I'm not in any way backing away from the fact that, the seminary that I went to said that they were there to equip the saints, right? Equip them to preach the gospel throughout all the world and to do so knowing the biblical text. Well, this book is designed to equip atheists and skeptics who are interested in discussing and debating biblical topics or Old Testament topics. So I don't back away from that at all.
Right.
That's how it's designed. Now, that doesn't mean that it's written in some sort of antagonistic fashion. I recently did an interview on Dr. Michael Brown's radio show, YouTube show. I think it's radio and YouTube. And, I don't think that anybody could accuse me after watching that of being antagonistic toward Christianity or antagonistic toward religion. What I'm trying to do in the book is, because I agree with the not God position, I think that the, how is it that Graham Oppy puts it, that that's terrible, I can't think of this, proposition, that the proposition, no gods exist, I think that proposition is probably true. So, because of that, I think that my positions, my arguments, because I'm convinced that they speak to the supernatural not being behind the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament text, are going to align with the conclusions of a skeptic or an atheist. And so, I see atheists getting bullied online. I see skeptics getting bullied online because they are accused of not knowing the context of the Old Testament.
And sometimes that's true.
Of course.
In fact, that might be true half the time. Yeah. I mean, there's sometimes they're just not.
There'd be no reason for the book if it weren't true. Because that's the purpose of the book is...
That was going to be my next question, was like, why did you write the book?
Yeah.
And this leads right into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, the example that I give in the book and that I give all the time when I talk about it is 1 Samuel 15. And you hear, very, very often an atheist or a skeptic in a debate, usually with a fundamentalist or a Christian apologist, will say, how can you, claim that your deity is omnibenevolent or the ground of all morality, and unchanging, and yet he calls for his people to commit mass genocide on the Amalekites, for example, which, spoilers, legitimate criticism. Mm-hmm. And instead of addressing that issue, very often the Christian apologist will ask, well, do you know the context?
Jewish apologists as well.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I've had that criticism thrown at me when I mentioned this. And they said, you don't know why? They were trying to wipe out this was what they said. So they're already they're making some of this up, but why would they want to annihilate them unless they were being attacked first or they were going to take them out? So there's always a criticism back.
No doubt. That's a fair point. I appreciate you pointing that out. So the thing that I say in the book is that you don't have to know the history of the interaction between the Amalekites and the Israelites in order to know that mass genocide is a bad thing. You just don't have to do that. You don't have to know it. But it helps in these discussions, and it helps in general. So the point of the book is to give the reader, and it's intended for atheists and skeptics, but it's the same data for everybody. It'll give the reader, it's intended to give the reader not only a broad background to things like what the narrative of the Old Testament is, what the history of the ancient Near East is, how archaeology works, those sorts of things, but also then digging down deep into specific hot button issues like slavery in the Bible or the dating of the book of Daniel or did Moses write the Pentateuch, those sorts of things. So yes, it is geared toward the atheist and the skeptic in order to equip them.
Might I say, just like any seminary and any Christian college or any Christian school is geared toward saying this is literally true and accurate.
But that doesn't mean that seminary is coming at it and saying those stupid atheists, those dumb skeptics. They're not doing that. Right. And in the same way, I mean, the last paragraph to the book in the conclusion talks about conversations that I have on the Atheist Network group, which is a channel, Oz and, Murder Shed Steve and Study Shell and Biddy Buddha and Skids the Clown and Wes. I'm trying to think of everybody. I apologize, whoever I've forgotten, Bryce. Anyway, all these people, their whole goal in having this Atheist Network group is to have better conversations. In fact, we were just talking about this off air. They are hosting a conference October 9th and 10th of this year out in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where it's called Better. The conference is called Better, and it's designed to help atheists and skeptics to be able to approach conversations that this book is sort of prepping you for in a way that's not antagonistic, that's not divisive. I'm speaking at the conference, and mine is how to utilize historical inaccuracies in the biblical text, in the Hebrew Bible, in order to have effective, meaningful conversations. So you don't, the goal is not to go, you big dummy, you don't know that all these things are wrong in the book of Daniel. The point is to say, hey, look, let's take a step back. Why would these things be inaccurate in the book of Daniel? Maybe there's another way to interpret this. So yeah, if just to plug it, if you go to YouTube and type in the Atheist Network group, or I think you can just type in Tang, T-A-N-G, it'll bring it up, and they've got links to get it. But it's going to be great. Sorry, now I'm shilling.
No, you're
shamelessly.
Good. I must no. I mean, I'm friends with all of them, or at least I know a couple of them for sure. But
it's going to be a lot of fun. Seth Andrews is going to be there. Anthony Magnabosco is speaking. Dave Warnock, others. Yes, it's going to be.
And I think having a community is important to talk to and have. Because, like, where do you go once you're not part of it? And that book right there, I mean, that's a powerful book. Once you start reading it, you're opening up Pandora's box if you're not already somebody who's considered this. I think that when Christians think of atheists, they think most of the ones I talk about, not the ones that I interview. I interview Christians all the time, so I guess I need to really specify. I'm talking about fundamentalists. they have this like they are evil people. There's something like, you know what I mean? Oftentimes, not all fundamentalists are the same either.
Right. Yeah.
That's the complexity of this. But there's like a vilification, like there's something wrong and you need to come back. There's a real drive that they think their subjective truth is absolute.
Yeah.
And that's what's the fact that you need to live by. So I guess the final question in the vein of this is, why is it important to know the Old Testament narrative?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, in order to have a better conversation with a Christian apologist or a fundamentalist, is you have to know the text that they're using and the context that they're understanding. So going back to the 1 Samuel 15 thing, if they ask you the question, what's the context of 1 Samuel 15? You could, and I see it all the time, just say, look, the context doesn't matter. Give me a scenario where it's okay outside of God, your specific God.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Asher commanded mass genocide, you'd say that was wrong.
Right.
Or if any human called for mass genocide, you'd say that was wrong. So outside of your deity, your particular deity, can you give me an example of when it would be okay to call for mass genocide, including killing women, children, infants, cattle? When is that okay? You could say that, but the problem is you're already putting that person on a defensive position, in a defensive position that I don't think you need to. And I think you're making the task harder. Now, you might be scoring points with the audience, but it's probably going to be your audience that you're scoring points with, right? Your atheistic or your skeptical audience who's already on your side. Mm-hmm. Right? They're already there. The goal, I think, to have these better conversations is to be able to not only further strengthen, solidify, whatever, your own positions with data. Like, I don't mean that in a, like a, I can't think of the term now, but like in a bad way, supporting your own position, but ensuring that your position has good justification with the data. But it's also to be able to bring somebody that doesn't hold your position already to your side, bring them along. And so by understanding their view on the narrative, saying, okay, look, let me tell you about the Amalekites. Yeah, so back in Exodus 17, you have this thing, where the Israelites are coming up out of Egypt and the Amalekites ambush them from the back. And this was a long time before Saul, hundreds of years before Saul. But there's this sort of cosmic battle that's set up in the text where Yahweh now, from generation to generation, is going to be against Amalek. And so that's what the background is for this. This is what the writer's picking up on. So then when God, tests Saul essentially and gives him this mission to go wipe out the Amalekites, it's not on a whim. It's to conclude this cosmic battle that Yahweh's been having for all this time. Well, if you can say that, automatically, the apologist is probably thinking, I didn't know all that, right?
Right.
Probably.
Right.
And if they did, they're going, okay, all right, you've done your homework. I can't throw that in your face anymore. Because what is the one claim that we hear all the time
you don't know the
with
context,
atheists?
right?
Yeah, you don't know the context. You don't read the Bible, atheist. You don't read it. Right? And if you do, you cherry pick it. So I think understanding the narrative is really important for these conversations.
I think you're right. No, I think that's a powerful point. And those poor, descendants of those poor guys who, they're cursed forever. How do you get around it? It doesn't matter how nice their children are.
Yeah.
You're done because you messed with the wrong God.
Yeah.
I just think that's, when you start looking at that, the way we're looking at it now,
yeah.
And then they say you're on the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It makes you realize, like, whoa,
yeah.
Paradigm shift. That's a mind, just blows your mind on how you would see it's okay. But I could see how when you're on the team, it's like America going into a war.
Yes.
Okay, we go into a war, we think Middle East when all this stuff went down. I'm thinking my dad, he's high-speed, badass military special forces, and so he comes back, yeah, we kicked some ass, da, 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, but in my mind, I'm wondering how many civilians, how many people over there that weren't or if there were any of the people that maybe none of them had any involvement in anything that happened or whatever. So it's like,
we should talk about my experience doing archaeology over in Syria, because I worked very closely with people from a local village, and we would disagree on the way they carry out. We disagree with their ethical system because it's based on some aspects of the Quran and Islam, but I mean they're normal people.
Yeah,
they're trying to live,
and that's what I think's also happening with atheists and Christians.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to break that wall down.
Yeah,
but how do you break that wall down when the very epistemology they live by requires them to try and make you become like them? So it kind of forces you into this like kind of a combated situation where you're having to write a book like, here's the Atheist Handbook.
Yeah.
And it's not to say I'm trying to make everyone an atheist. It's trying to say, now do you understand why I don't agree with your conclusions? And just maybe it might, I would hope, evolve their position in a way where it's not so fundamentalist.
Yeah.
You and me, we're not going to see the day that religion disappears. In fact, I don't know if it ever will. It's a tool in which humans have lived by, and it's been useful for many centuries. Who knows if that would ever even change? The point is, we're trying to make a dent on the way we're looked at and approached, and hopefully it affects the world. I think there's some horrible ideologies out there in the world that could really use some common sense in this respect, I think.
Go seriously. Now I'm fine with shilling it because I stand behind it. Everybody go look up the Atheist Network group and get yourself a ticket to this conference, the Better Conference, because that's what this is all about. All of the speakers got street epistemology, got people that are just trying to figure out a way to deal with believers that hold these positions that we disagree with and that we think in many ways are dangerous to society because they're basing what it is that they believe, as you say, on this mindset that not only am I right, but John Collins, I think, said it best to me in one of the video that he did with us on our channel, where he was talking about biblical values, and he said the real danger with this type of thought is that when you know that you're right and you have this divine mandate to enforce, I guess I would say, that right, that correct position that you have, and there's no wiggle room, you have to be right about it, then there's only one other way to go. It's to try to convince them or violence, right? There's you're sort of left with no other cards to play. And so that's why I think this is it's a good thing to be able to figure out how we can have these meaningful, better conversations as atheists, as skeptics, with Christians. So again, Atheist Network group, grab some tickets. I'll see you out there.
Awesome. Let me see that book one more time, Dr. Josh.
And I will be out there signing these.
Awesome.
So,
Can they buy it there in person too? You can
they
have
will.
A bunch of
They'll
copies?
be able to. But you might want to read it before you get there. So,
That's true. That's true.
But it's on audiobook. So maybe listen to the audiobook, because Seth Andrews reads the audiobook, right? Listen to it.
Get you both. Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah. And then come out to the conference.
Well, I have both. So, you know what I mean? I've got the paper in case I need a roll of doobie. No, I'm just kidding.
Need to prop a door open or something. Get a little bit higher up on the shelf.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Josh.
Thank you.